You know the exact feeling. It's that searing burn on the final rep of a workout, the blank stare at a blinking cursor, or that sudden, overpowering urge to grab your phone instead of finishing the task in front of you. Your brain is screaming at you to stop. This resistance is the product of millions of years of evolutionary DNA. For our ancestors, conserving energy meant surviving predators. Today, that same programming traps us. We mistake the discomfort of growing for actual danger, fixing our lives into a restricted demo mode. Because of this biological bias, we wrongly interpret a feeling of friction as an absolute boundary. We become passive spectators in our own lives, convinced that our perceived limits are actual physical laws. Years ago, while recovering from an injury, I fell into a specific treadmill routine. Whenever my timer went off and my mind begged me to quit, I committed to running for exactly 22 more seconds. Every single time, I was able to do it. If I could always squeeze out an extra 22 seconds after my mind declared I was empty, then that initial stopping point was an arbitrary fiction. Our perceived limits are illusions created for our own comfort. There is a hidden reserve of capacity masked by the brain's instinctual desire to avoid strain. Accessing that hidden reserve requires you to shut down the internal negotiation process before it even starts. This flow cycle illustrates the override. You can bypass the urge to quit by reducing a complex challenge to a simple binary loop: objective, then action. Notice how the connection to that third note, friction or emotion, is severed. You separate the physical task from the psychological discomfort of performing that task. The emotion moves completely outside the process. You don't rationalize, you simply move from assignment to execution. This reframing turns pain into a passive spectator. It watches you, it might even yell at you, but it no longer controls your movements. By detaching emotion from execution, you begin to counteract that evolutionary pull. This creates the mental space necessary to maintain steady, forward momentum, even when the instinct to stop is at its strongest. This same framework applies to emotional endurance. Think about the moments when life blindsides you with sudden adversity, a mistake, or an unfair situation. Our instinct is to chase the snake, to seek revenge, project blame, and adopt a victim mentality toward the thing that bit us. An architect refuses to chase the snake. They focus entirely on the action required to fix the wound, leaving the bitterness and blame behind to prioritize the next step forward. Will Smith has often spoken about this level of accountability. You cannot control where you start or everything that happens to you, but you are responsible for the direction you move next. Taking absolute accountability turns a tragedy into a catalyst. It forces you to look past the why of a situation and focus entirely on what you will do about it. These individual choices, adding 22 seconds, ignoring friction, refusing to chase the snake, do not exist in a vacuum. This data visualization shows how those decisions behave over time. Each moment of endurance contributes to growth that builds exponentially. Notice what happens as the cycle repeats. By consistently pushing past discomfort, your brain normalizes the chaos, the y-axis shifts, and the struggle flattens out. This compounding process shifts your baseline. Through repeated endurance, yesterday's absolute peak flattens out to become today's starting floor. There is a temptation to play it safe, to guard what you have as if you were a collector's item meant for preservation on a shelf. But we are built for wear, for tear, and for evolution. The present moment, stripped of past failures or biological fears, functions as a blank page. Your past and your environment have no power to dictate your direction unless you give them permission to do so. Progress doesn't require a spectacular leap. It only requires recognizing the limits you've accepted and taking one intentional step forward.